everyone. My name is Shweta Surendar. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shweta Surendar, a legal intern of Thomas George and Associates, and I will be your court master for today. On behalf of Thomas George and Associates, I cordially welcome you to the third National Virtual Moot Court Competition. We are pleased to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Prabhjot Singh and Ms. Pranita Makasari as our judges for today. Mr. Prabhjot Singh is a fresh graduate from IB University, FIMT College, currently working as an outreach manager at Superlawyer and associate at Law Seco. Even though he just graduated this year, he has worked with leading startups in agri-tech, legal media, regtech, IPR transactions, and investigations. He is well versed in the legal industry's changing dimensions, such as evolution of AI, metaverse, and NFT, and he always keeps himself updated with those developments. For the same purpose, he has one newsletter wholly dedicated to legal tech named Legal Tech Insights, which has crossed the number of 1,000 subscribers in 5 months. The other newsletter, called Law Prime, has passed 700 subscribers in 3 months and is purposely made to give legal updates from every country. Ms. Pranita Makasare is an alumni of ILS Law College, Pune. Her academic qualifications include BSc Agriculture, LLB, and LLM in Intellectual Property Rights. She has been one of the gold medalists of Savitribai Phule, Pune University in 2018. In an overall experience of 3 years, she has practiced in the Pune District Court and is currently working in Principal Global Services as a legal associate Pune. I will now proceed to explain the time division granted to each counsel in a single team. Each team is allocated 30 minutes to present their case. Each speaker will be given 15 minutes unless indicated otherwise by the team. Placards indicating time will be shown by the courtmaster 3 minutes prior to the lapse of the time allocated to a speaker, and finally once the time has lapsed. 30 seconds each will be allocated for rebuttals and sur-rebuttals. We have team TGA 13 representing the petitioners and team TGA 20 representing the respondents. With the permission of our learned judges, we shall commence the preliminary round of the third National Virtual Moot Court Competition. Petitioners Council, can you specify your time breakup, please?
Yeah, so the time division would be 15 minutes for speaker 1 and 15 for the speaker 2.
Okay, you may proceed now. Thank you.
The council solicits permission to begin. Much obliged, Your
Permission
Lordship.
granted.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Warm greetings to the Lordships. May it please this honorable court, this is the council appearing on behalf of the petitioners in the case of XYZ versus the Republic of Parliamento. The council seeks permission to address the bench collectively as Your Lordships.
Permission granted.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Would Your Lordships appreciate a brief perusal of the facts?
Yes, proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. So, Your Lordships, COVID-19.
Tell me five important facts of the case.
Indeed, Your Lordship. So, COVID-19 pandemic had affected the world during 2020, and this led to an abrupt increase in the number of digital transactions. An attempt to ban these form of digital currencies was set aside by the Honorable Supreme Court. While the government continues to contemplate its stance on the virtual digital assets, it has in the interim implemented a new tax regime aimed at taxing gains and income from virtual digital assets at 30%. The citizens were perplexed as to when there is no law legalizing virtual digital assets, the decision to tax gains from the same is unreasonable. Thereafter, various citizens filed PILs before this Honorable Supreme Court of Parliamento, challenging the insertion of the new section 115 BBH of the Income Tax Act. If Your Lordships are satisfied, the Council seeks permission to move on to the issues. Permission granted. Much obliged, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, the issues in hand in the present case are: issue number 1, whether the government is justified in taxing digital currency, digital assets, NFTs, etc., which are not legalized; and issue number 2, whether section 115 BBH of the Income Tax Act is violative of the Constitution of Parliament. The council will be dealing with the first issue, while the co-council will be dealing with the second issue. If I may begin with your lordship's due permission.
Yeah, permission granted.
Much obliged, your lordship. Your lordships, the first issue deals with whether the government is justified in taxing digital currencies and other NFTs which are not legalized. The council humbly submits before this honorable court that the government is not justified in taxing income from virtual digital assets. In the case of Internet and Mobile Association of India versus the Republic of India, the Honorable Supreme Court declared that an attempt to ban virtual digital assets is disproportionate, unreasonable, and unconstitutional. Cryptocurrencies are unregulated in Parliament. The Supreme Court wanted the center to clarify its stand on the legality of cryptocurrency, and the ban was ultimately struck down. Virtual digital assets have gained tremendous popularity in recent times, and the volumes of trading in such digital assets has increased substantially. In the case of Hitesh Bhatia versus Mr. Kumar Vivekanand, the court noted that there is no specific legislation dealing with the legality and the regulation of cryptocurrencies. Paying no heed to the court's decision, the government, without enacting any law to legalize the framework of virtual digital assets, has implemented a new tax regime aimed at taxing gains from virtual digital assets at 30%. The government said that the magnitude and the frequency of these...
Council.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Is it the question of fact or is it a question of law?
In the
What
present
is the
case,
issue exactly? In this case,
the issue,
why are you appearing before this honorable court?
the issue
Is it a
here,
question of law? Is it a question of fact?
the issue, Your
And
Lordship,
justify
here,
your answer, whatever it is, whether it's a question of fact, whether it's a question of law.
indeed, Your Lordship. So the facts of the present case are that, Lordship, cryptocurrencies, millions of people started using digital transactions. The government wants to start taxing the incomes from these virtual digital assets at 30%. But the point here is that the government has not legalized the use of these virtual digital assets. The instance here can be compared with the instance as in if we suppose there is no law for traffic rules maybe, and there are millions of people who are riding on their two-wheelers without helmets. So what the government does is that the government imposes fine for the people not wearing helmets while riding their two-wheelers. But in the case, the government has not said that wearing two-wheelers is important. Wearing helmets while riding your two-wheelers is important. The same thing has happened here, where the government has just said that the incomes that you gain from these virtual digital assets are taxable. But in the first instance, the government should have legalized the use of these virtual digital assets so that there would have been an established framework which said that these cryptocurrencies and virtual digital assets can be transacted, and the income that you gain from these will be taxed by the government.
So will this be, this taxation, is it a question of fact or is it a question of law? What is it?
The instance in this case is the question of fact, Your Lordship. Because the government has already introduced a law, that is Section 115 BBH of the Income Tax Act. But the facts of the case don't support the insertion of that law, because the government should have in prior legalized the use of these virtual digital assets.
Proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. The council was stating that in the case of Hitesh Bhatia versus Kumar Vivekanand, the Supreme Court wanted the government to clarify its stand on the legality of cryptocurrencies. The government said that the magnitude and the frequency of these transactions has made it imperative to provide for a specific tax regime. Just because the government didn't want to lose out on making some easy money, it has decided to impose taxes on virtual digital assets. Now, with the burgeoning rise in cyber crimes that are unrestrained by the national or geographical boundaries, laws to govern VDAs and ensure the traceability of money used in crypto trade are much needed. While justifying the move to tax virtual digital assets, the government stated that it considers income from these to be speculation business. Now, Section 43, Subclause 5 of the Income Tax Act deals with speculative transactions. It states that the incomes from speculative activities shall also be taxed at normal rates, that is, according to the respective tax slab under which the taxpayer falls. However, in the instant case, the government wants all the taxpayers to pay net 30% tax on any gains that they gain from the trade of virtual digital assets, which otherwise would have to be paid only people having a net taxable income of exceedingly higher wavelengths. So in this case, people having any meager income and people having an income of more than 15 lakh from virtual digital assets will be required to pay tax at the same rate because of the government's move to impose tax, which is not justified at all. Section 2, subclause 14 of the Income Tax Act defines capital assets. In the proviso of the same section, it is also pointed out that any work of art is also considered as a capital asset. Now, NFTs are non-fungible tokens that are unique cryptographic tokens that exist on a blockchain and cannot be replicated. And if these digital files do not have physical copies, instead, they exist solely in the digital universe where investors and art collectors can buy and sell them. Therefore, non-fungible tokens that are NFTs are bound to be included in the definition of capital assets. Section 111A of the Income Tax Act imposes 15% tax on short-term capital gains, and Section 112A of Income Tax Act imposes 10% tax on long-term capital gains. The government has regarded investment in virtual digital assets to be neither of the two. The government imposing 30% tax doesn't reflect a single detail regarding the legal status of virtual digital assets, and it is a tax which is imposed with pure unreasonableness and ambiguity. The government stand on VDAs is unsubstantiated. The refusal to permit any deductions other than the cost of acquisition or to permit the set-off of losses and the requirement to deduct tax are evidence of the intention to discourage investments in virtual digital assets. The government has levied the highest rate of 30% tax on income from virtual digital assets, the intention behind which is not bona fide. The tax rate of 30%, applicable irrespective of the income tax bracket of the taxpayer, is like that which is imposed on other assets which the government appears to be disapproving of, such as lottery winnings. Now, according to Section 194B of the Income Tax Act, a TDS of 30% is imposed only on game shows, gaming, lottery, that is online and offline, gambling, race betting, puzzles, etc. The income from VDAs is far from lottery winnings. Investing in VDAs requires a lot of research, brainstorming, analyzing hypotheses, and calculated risks to be taken by the investors before investing. Treating income from virtual digital assets and lotteries identically undermines the intellectual process of investing in virtual digital assets, and thus it disrespects the investors as well. Crypto and NFTs are unregulated and they can be highly risky. In an absence of crypto law, there is no established framework for the recourse to consumer disputes, as payments by cryptocurrencies take place on a peer-to-peer basis without an authorized central agency regulating such payments. Thus, the illegal trading of virtual digital assets may aggravate money laundering, terrorist financing, and extortion activities unless there is an established legal framework which says and legalizes the.
Council,
Yes, Your Lordship.
what subject is, taxation?
What
Under which
subject?
subject it would fall? There is a list of, list of subject list. So taxation, government charging taxation, taxes. What subject would that fall under?
It comes under the union list under the 7th schedule of the Constitution.
Proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Now, the council was stating that in the absence of any law that legalizes the use of virtual digital assets, the illegal trading in virtual digital assets may aggravate and it may lead to money laundering, terrorist financing, and extortion. Unless there is an established framework for the recourse to consumer disputes, this will become a very big problem in the future of the nation. The transaction value of crypto and other virtual digital assets has crossed around $10 billion globally. Thus, despite the excessive volatility in the value of cryptocurrencies, and their anonymous nature, it appears they are here to stay at least for the foreseeable future. In an era where the future of money is digital currency, regulators and authorities of Parliament will have to keep pace with the global developments in this space and bring about appropriate measures to effectively monitor and regulate the cryptocurrencies and other virtual digital assets. Cryptocurrencies are dynamic and volatile. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that the Republic of Parliamento has in place a regulatory regime to govern the use of cryptocurrencies. Thus, the above arguments prove the fact that legalizing the virtual digital assets is the need of the hour, and the government is not justified in taxing virtual digital assets without legalizing them. When we look at the global scenario for cryptocurrencies, there are several countries which have accepted this, Lordship. Council can proceed.
Yeah,
Is there
proceed.
something? Yeah, much obliged, Your Lordship. So there are countries such as Belarus which have made cryptocurrencies and virtual digital assets tax exempted until 2023. And the reason behind this that they gave that Belarus wants to come up with regulations, and only after being able to regulate or legalize the use of virtual digital assets, they will be able to tax any gains that are accruing out of virtual digital assets. Countries such as Germany also have said Germany has defined virtual digital assets to be long-term or short-term capital gains. They state that if they are long-term capital gains, they are tax exempted. And similarly, they feel that there should be a regulatory framework before imposing any taxation, so that the citizens of the country have a clear mind as to what is the legality of the virtual digital assets, and then indulge in some transactions. When it is legalized in our country, the citizens they will have a legal backing to approach the court. They will have a legal backing to indulge in transactions which involve virtual digital assets, and it will make them feel more secure. So, if your lordships have no further questions, if your lordships are satisfied with with the council's arguments.
Yeah, so my question is, even before, yeah, I'm audible?
Yeah, lordship, you're audible.
Yeah, so my question was, even before when illegal transactions were there on, the tax system was there to, have those systems of regimes of taxes. And second, I think the issue was that whether the taxes should be there or not. Cryptocurrency is not regulated, but it is not, I would say, illegal as well. It is legal. It has been there. Of course, it has been for illegal activities, but even illegal activities has been taxed. So what's your take on that? I mean, whether regulations would come or not, that's a different take, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, so the council would like to state, yes, even the illegal activities have been taxed in the Republic of Parliamento, but the number of transactions that are taking place in cryptocurrencies are in millions right now. The cases in which it was stated that illegal activities can also be taxed, they were cases in which a single petitioner or a single accused was present. But the number of people who became a party to this case is in millions. So there are millions of people in our country who are indulging in transactions that involve virtual digital assets. And if they are legalized and regulations are brought in, it will make them feel more secure. They will have a legal backing and they will also believe that whatever they are doing is legal in the country. It involves a large number of people indulging in these transactions, and it is the need of the hour to legalize them and to bring in regulations. As a lordship pointed out, there have been illegal activities when there are tax regimes as well. The council would like to point out that when regulations are brought in and virtual digital assets have been legalized, it will take time, but the council is sure that the number of illegal activities or illegal trading which are happening with these will go down, because anything that is imposed cannot eradicate the evil immediately. It takes time. Anything that is brought in, it takes time for it to be implemented, for the citizens to understand the same, and there is eventually improvement in the situation in the country. So if these regulations are brought in and they are legalized, there will be regulations. Citizens will understand as to what the situation of what the stand of BDS is in our country, and they will be more secure in indulging in these transactions.
Yeah. So another question is that you said that NFT comes into that category, right? The creative work and all that stuff. I think that's clear. But how do you put cryptocurrency in a different category? Like, what category you would like to give? Like, is there any category or cryptocurrency is just unregulated? So let it be. Like, what's the system?
In India Lordship, the council would like to say that as NFTs are taken under the category of artwork and they can be taxed under capital gains. Similarly, cryptocurrencies can be treated as we have securities and shares of companies in which the citizens of the country uh, invest their money. So, giving a similar status to cryptocurrency will make them short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains. Or even if a person is indulging in the business of cryptocurrencies, they can include it in their business incomes. And the important part here is that they have to be taxed according to the tax slab in which they fall. In our case, it is 30% tax that is required to be paid by everyone on the gains that they get from virtual digital assets. But imposing these taxes according to the respective tax slabs in which person falls might make their implementation very easier. So, because the people in those cases, the people who are earning low income will be paying lower taxes, and people earning higher income will be paying higher taxes, which is very much justified and logical. So, um, including them and treating them like shares or securities might be favorable for cryptocurrencies, and NFTs might be included in the term of capital assets.
Okay.
Okay. So, if your lordships have no further questions, may I leave the podium for my counsel to continue?
Pranita, do you have any questions?
No,
Yes,
yes,
I do have a question
yeah. Yes,
for
your
the
lordship.
council. What is so special about this petition that you have, come under Article 136 of the Constitution? What is so special about it so that you want the Honorable Court to grant a special leave to appeal?
Your lordships, with respect to the proposition of the case, it was later stated to us that the petitioners have approached the court under Article 32 of the Constitution and not Article 136. So this is a writ petition that has been filed by the citizens of the country in the Supreme Court, as there is a violation of the violation of the Constitution of India. So it was given to the teams by the organizers that the petitioners have approached the court under Article 32 of the Constitution of Parliament.
So that is the jurisdiction. I'm asking about the special leave petition.
The special leave petition. So under the jurisdiction, the Supreme Court has the powers to issue a writ of declaration to state that this move of the legislature of the country is not justified, and it has to think over it so that it becomes more justified and it is more logical in imposing these taxes. If your lordships are satisfied with the arguments, may I leave the podium for my co-counsel to continue with the arguments?
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Yes.
Much obliged, your lordship.
The council seeks permission from the lordship to collectively address the benches in lordship.
Permission given, please proceed.
Much obliged, your lordship. Your lordship, the council will be, the speaker will be dealing with the second issue, that whether or not the section 115 pph of the Income Tax Act is violating the Constitution of India or not. It is most humbly summoned before this honorable court that section 115 BPH of the Income Tax Act is violative of the Article 265, Article 14, and Article 19 and Clause G of the Constitution of Parliament, Your Lordship. So the Lordship permit may the council proceed with my first submission.
Please proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the first submission is the violation of Article 265, Your Lordship. What the Article 265 states is the Honorable Court knows very well. The no tax shall be levied or collected except by the authority of law. So here the council would like to emphasize the authority of law. The authority of law donates a good or a valid law, and no tax shall be collected unless it has been enacted by the legislature. There may be a saying that the tax has no bearing whether it is legal or illegal. It is accepted that Section 115 BBH says that 30% of tax on income, the 30% of tax on income of virtual digital assets shall be collected. It may be seemed to right to collect the tax, but it violates the Article 265 indirectly, as the virtual digital assets now come under the arena of the authority of law. Further to establishing this code, in the case of R. Gopal Ram Narayan versus the third income tax officer, the court held that the importance of the Article 265, where the true interpretation of the Article 265 has been stated that it states that every stage in the Article 265 in this entire process must be authorized by the law, which is it is not much, it is very vague, Your Lordship, that only keeping on the sense of one legislation, collecting of a tax does not come under the authority of law because the virtual digital assets are being not legalized. Hence, the Supreme Court has not objected upon the legality of virtual digital assets, as there is no legislation dealing with it. Therefore, the authority of law is absent and it violates the Article 265 of the Constitution of India, Your Lordship. If Your Lordship satisfied with my first submission, the council seeks permission to move to the second submission.
Yeah, please proceed.
Much obliged. Your Lordship, the second submission is whether the Section 247 clause of the Income Tax Act violative of the Article 19 or Article 14 or 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. For it is being vague, Your Lordship. In the Finance Bill 2022, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, ma'am, as honorable, has made the attempt to define the virtual digital assets and the digital currency as all, as consolidated all the attributes of DLT, where all the virtual digital currency, they have been added up together, which they have a different meaning, Your Lordship. For instance, to be given to this honorable court, for instance, cryptocurrency is fungible in nature, Your Lordship, and its value changes as the community involved in its transaction, and its worth fluctuates with the increase and the decrease in the supply. Further, the transaction of a specific crypto tokens can only to take place in its restricted ecosystem or a marketplace. For example, Ethereum cannot be used for transaction in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Hence, this council would like to emphasize on the point saying that the cryptocurrency is fungible and the NFT is as everything. The finance minister has made an attempt to define everything to put under into one room of virtual digital assets. So they have different features. Though maybe in the side of yes, much.
Is there any legal definition for cryptocurrency?
Yes, Your Lordship. The Section 2 of 47A of the Tax Act states the definition of.
Proceed.
Much obliged. So the council would like to emphasize that they are different features and they cannot be equally taxified. To compare this with the Article 14 in such a way violence, where the court held that the definition of 247A of the Income Tax Act is vague. There is unreasonable classification, and according to Article 14, equality before law, the court held that it should have a two test has to be done, which is the intelligible differentia, and that object to be relation to the object. So in this, the virtual digital assets, there is an absence of intelligible differentia of differentiating the virtual digital assets, Your Lordship. It lacks clarity. As I mentioned earlier, as the council mentioned earlier, that the difference of virtual currency and virtual digital assets have different features and cannot be taxed for equally tax action where there is the absence of intelligible differentia. Further, to be more clear, in the case of Nazim Banu versus the state of Uttar Pradesh, as others, the court declared the amending rules tax is arbitrary since they interfere the fundamental rights under the Article 14 and Article 19 and Article 19(1)(g) of the subclause of the Constitution of Parliament. Further, the Council like to emphasize in what way that the Article 19 has been violated. In a sense, the Honorable Court has made an attempt to ban this virtual digital assets. So, the Article 19(1)(g) of subclause states very clearly that right to profession. There may be a question that the virtual digital assets or dealing with the virtual currencies come under the category of business, come under the category of business, but it's very clear that dealing with virtual digital assets is a business, and the honorable court has made an attempt to ban it. It violates the article, and if there is no any law will be regularizing the virtual digital assets, and if there is going to people are going to face any laws, they are going to face any risk on dealing with the virtual currencies, they will stop it dealing with that business, and because there is no law to legalize it, and where they will go and approach for the legal remedy. So, Your Lordship, in that way, the Article 91(g) of the Constitution has been violated. If Your Lordship satisfied with my second submission, the Council seeks permission to move to the third submission.
You may proceed.
Proceed.
So there is a technical error. If Your Lordship permit, may the Council proceed with the third submission of my argument. Much obliged.
Proceed.
The Section 115 of Income Tax Act. Much obliged, Your Lordship. The Section 115 BPH of the Income Tax Act is ultra virus of the Constitution. The fact that the Income Tax Act does not address the characteristics of the virtual digital assets. To explain this more clearly, Your Lordship, they can be acquired, utilized, could lead to the confusion. Illustratively, if cryptocurrency is acquired through mining, or is mining of creating the bitcoins on the own, okay, it is considered to have a transfer to the recipient and therefore subject to the 30% of tax ownership. Alternatively, it is considered of a recipient of virtual digital assets without the consideration making the fair market value that virtual digital assets taxable in the hands of a miner. So the cost of purchase of that virtual assets, only the tax should be purchased on the income from dealing with the virtual digital assets. So if I'm going to mine and deal with the virtual currencies, so there's no arrest the profit, and on what basis the law suggests to impose the tax on that. In the case of Smith Ujibai,
Your Lordship, the Council apologizes. There's just a technical error with speaker 2. We'll just take 1 minute to join that. Yeah, he's here. Apologies, Your Lordship.
in the case of Smith Ujibai versus the state of Uttar Pradesh, the court held that imposition of a tax without the authority of law, and that being so threatened by the state by appraising flotation machinery of impeached act to realize it from the balance sufficient. So the infringement of this fundamental right under Article 19(1)(g), and it's clearly entitled to relief under the Article 32 of the Constitution. Based on this argument, Council would like to deal with the section 2 of 47 of the subclause of the Income Tax Act is vague and unreasonable classifier where there is the absence of intelligible differentia and lacks clarity, Your Lordship, and therefore the imposition of a tax based on the section 115 PBH of the Income Tax Act is ultra virus and unconstitutional tax, Your Lordship. If Your Lordship is satisfied with my third submission, the Council seeks permission to move to the fourth submission.
Radhika, do you have something?
Council, I have a question for you. How it can be checked that the cryptocurrency cannot be used for terror funding?
Lordship, I am not able to.
Council, I'm asking you the mechanism, the check mechanism as to whether how how it can be checked whether the cryptocurrency cannot be used for terror funding. There are chances that it would be
Your
used for
Lordship, that
terrorism related activities.
Your Lordship, because the point that when there is a law legalizing on that, and if there is going to deal with the terrorism and that funds are both, the council can the people who are suffering from the risk of loss of that, they can legally approach the court and to find for the unstable for the risk of loss, Your Lordship.
The
Your Lordship,
government
if you're
justifying by
satisfied with my answer.
charging the sales tax, the income tax, the revenue tax. So why cryptocurrency or bitcoins or this income from digital currency that should not be taxed? Could you justify same?
Your Lordship, if you permit, may the council answer for your question. For my co-council's laptop, since I'm not able to hear you because there is a lack of connection here.
Okay.
Much obliged. Apologize, Your Lordship. Lordship, the council asked for the question.
We have 3 minutes left, so please.
Yes, Your Lordship, the council seeks permission for asking the question.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question, Your Lordship?
I'm asking a question. How is there any mechanism check that the cryptocurrency will not be used for terrorism related activities?
Your Lordship, when they are taxing, all the things will be included in that, Your Lordship. There will be a importing funds when they are taxing itself, everything will be included in that, Your Lordship.
So what are you arguing for? Are you arguing for the taxes or against the taxes?
Your Lordship, we are not against the tax, Your Lordship. We are saying when the government is ready to tax on something, let them legalize it and make some regulations and direct the authorities to make some regulations and to take some appropriate measures and to legalize them, and then they can impose tax on them, because since they are saying that the tax have no bearing on whether it is legal or illegal, as my co-counsel presented before itself, even though when there is a law coming to legalize the virtual digital assets, the risk in the laws will not go down, Your Lordship. It will take time, Your Lordship. So the council is not against the tax. The council is against that when something is not legalized, it cannot be taxed, Your Lordship, as my co-counsel has stated in his previous argument.
Okay, proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Proceed towards the submission.
One more submission, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the fourth submission, the last submission for the council is the violation of Article 38, subclause 1, Your Lordship. According to the Article 38(1), the Constitution, it is the duty of the state to promote and to ensure the welfare of the people, Your Lordship. It is irrational for the government to voluntarily tax an income without clarifying its legality. The government being held responsible to promote the social welfare and safeguard the citizens must also think. So if the people are affected by using the virtual digital assets, how will they seek a legal remedy? Based on this, because the Article 38 clearly states that the promoting of the welfare by means of protecting, based on what the legal backings will they approach for the court for the justice if they're going to face any risk or for any loss, Your Lordship. This is the utter injustice, and it overturns the objective of promoting the welfare. Hence, the government has gone out of bounds beyond its power, and therefore it's ultra vires, Your Lordship. If Your Lordship is satisfied with my last submission, may the council proceed with the prayer.
Proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Despite the excessive volatility in the value of the cryptocurrencies and their anonymous in nature, that here appears that here to stay for an anonymous period of time, when there is no law legalizing the framework of the virtual digital asset, the Republic of Parliament, the petitioner humbly most submits before this honorable court to declare that the government is not justified in taxing the digital currencies, digital assets, NFT, and other virtual digital assets, to pass a writ of declaration under Article 32 of the Constitution to quash the Section 115 PBH of Income Tax Act, since it violates the Constitution of Parliament, to direct the authorities and regulators to bring appropriate measures to effectively monitor and to regulate the cryptocurrencies and other virtual digital assets, and or pass the order or orders or in the interim ex parte relief in the terms of prayer, the honorable court deemed fit of equity, interest, justice, good fair play, and a good conscience. And for this act of kindness and justice, the petitioner shall be duty and bound forever. Prayer.
If the petitioners are done with the permission of the learned judges, I believe the respondents can start.
Yeah, I think they should start.
Yes, they can.
Respondents, please proceed.
Thank you. It may please the honorable court, the councils appear in behalf of the respondent in the case title of XYZ VSC Union of Parliamento. The council seeks permission to move on with the statement of facts.
Permission granted. Please proceed.
Permission granted. Please proceed.
Thank you, Lordship. So, according to the statement of facts, the Republic of Parliamento is the largest democratic democracy in the world, with the population around the 140 crores. And during the 2020, the world which was affected by the COVID-19, due to this, there is an increased popularity on the cryptocurrencies and the digital transactions. So during the union budget, we have introduced, the government has introduced a new section, that is 115BH, to tax the cryptocurrencies and the NFTs at the charge of 30%. And the citizens of the nations which were perplexed to, and when there is no legalizing the digital currencies, they have stated that it's violative of the law. So these are statement of facts. The council seeks permission to move on with the issue one. Your Lordship.
Permission granted.
So the issue one is, Lordship, whether or not the government is justified in taxing digital currencies and digital assets, NFTs, which are not yet legalized. It is humbly submitted before the Honorable Court that the government has justified the taxing digital currencies and the NFTs. As you can see in the department has introduced a new section, that is 2 clause 47A, which defines the virtual digital assets. That's the definition is well detailed, which covers all the kinds of the cryptocurrencies, including NFTs and also tokens and more. And also in the 2022, the finance minister who introduced the section 115 BBH, which levels 30% tax on the profits, which is only the profits and incomes from the cryptocurrencies have been levied with the 30% of charge. And it is only levied when there is selling of cryptocurrencies and trading and spending of cryptocurrency on the goods and services. So it is inappropriate to say that the tax is only levied for the income purposes only when there is only profit has been attained by the person through the transfer of cryptocurrency. The tax has been levied. And also coming to the non-legalizing the part, everything which is not forbidden is allowed, which is a legal maxim, which is given by a learned senior English judge, where there's a mere inclusion of bringing cryptocurrency within the income tax does not provide deal with the legitimacy or legality of the cryptocurrencies in India. Taxability of legal money earned has nothing to deal with the legitimacy of the earning, and since cryptocurrencies and NFTs have been not declared as illegal, it comes in the illegal category also. And also I'd like to quote a case law under the para 4, which is the Minister of Finance V.S. Smith. It is stated that Income Tax Act is not necessarily restricted to application only to the lawful business purposes only. So the revenue merely looks at the accomplished fact that it brings a profit to the tax, but is not condoned. It's in legal or illegal enterprises. And also the another case law is that Justice Robert and Mann vs. Nash 16 TC 523. Profits from the trade which is necessarily involves in the frauds or illegal activities, the custom authority, and also for example, drugs and liquors, gaming machines, and also use of bet, race courses, etc. They are taxable as profit of business, even if the business involves in the preparation of crimes. And also in the expression of income, which dealt under the case of CIT VSK Tangamani case 309, which is they deal with the expression of income, in which the section 2 clause 24 of IT Act, which wide and has given extended meaning that the tax is attracted to the point of earning of income only. So taxes law is not concerned with the ultimate event, how the tax is expended, income is expended to, on the source of the income. So it is also inappropriate to state that without giving the legal status to the cryptocurrencies, by taxing them, the state is involved in it's also a partner in the crime. And also the tax authorities are only concerned about the manner or about the means of acquiring the income, because the forbidden by law the state cannot be a party of such a crime by levying the tax on illegal wealth. The authorities cannot act like a police to prevent the commission of unlawful act. The strict rules and evidence are not applicable to the IT authorities. So the taxation is a sovereign function, and I think that everything falls on the income tax head can be categorized as an income. And also in the case of Dr. T.A. Quashing with CIT, the court has very clearly stands taxing the income of an individual regardless of the source. And the court has held the primary function of income tax was to bring the various kinds of income into a tax net. So the cryptocurrency is also one of the sources of the income for the citizens. So any illegality tainted with the entire earning has no bearing in the taxability. So from this, we can say that even though the cryptocurrencies have been not yet legalized, the government has full authority to levy on tax on these cryptocurrencies. If on comparing with the other countries, that is a few countries we have compared, that is Australia, France, Australia, United Nations, and Argentina. Even though they have no clear definition have been given to the cryptocurrencies, the tax has been levied, and which they have been mentioned in the categories of virtual currencies. And also the same is followed in the Finland for the mining activity. They constitute income, and they have given the tax for the earnings acquired by them. And also it's also followed in Norway, United Kingdom, Canada, and UK. If the Lordship is satisfied with the arguments of issue 1, can move on to the issue 2, Your Lordship, if there are any questions.
Yeah, proceed.
Proceed.
Thank you, Lordship. On moving on to the issue 2, whether or not Section 115 BBH income tax is violative of Constitution of India, not violative of the Indian Constitution. As we said, the Article 265 of the Constitution taxes which is imposed by the authority of law. No tax shall be levied or collected by the authority of law. Here, the Income Tax Department have the authority under the Income Tax Act 1961, which governs the levy and administration, collection, recovery of income tax in India. So the Income Tax Department is considered as an authority of law, and they have authority to give any of the law regarding the taxation. And the government of body can collect the direct taxes levied by the Central Board of the Direct Taxes under the Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue. And coming under also, according to the International Revenue Service, most cryptocurrencies are convertible virtual currencies. This means they can a medium of exchange and store a value and unit of account, and can be substituted some type of real money. And also, the profit created by the cryptocurrencies is taxable. And we should know the important that when will be taxable. If you sell a cryptocurrencies and the profit is acquired, and if you use a cryptocurrency to buy in goods and services, and you accept a cryptocurrency of payment of goods and services in a type of business income, and if you are a cryptocurrency miner, then you have accrued any income, we tax the cryptocurrencies. And also, why we are considering it's a visual digital asset means under the clause 47A under section 2 of the IT Act, they have involved the promise or the representation of having an inherent value and function of store of values there. So the VDS are not limited to the investment schemes only. So they can transfer and store and trade it electronically. So that's why they have a collector given the category of visual digital assets. And why they have not considered as a capital gains means the visual digital assets have not been provided by an illegal authority. Anything that is considered to be currency will be only provided by the RBI. Even if it considers the currencies or of the cryptocurrencies, it only be if it is even provided by the RBI, it will be considered as a currency. But it is the cryptocurrencies and the NFTs are created and distributed by the individual party. There is no legal authority for it. So it will be not covered under the capital gains and also the capital assets. So it will be considered as a visual digital assets. And moving on to the this also deviates a common understanding that crypto assets are the capital assets which is taxable. So the above argument stated that it is not considered as a capital assets. If the Lordship is satisfied with my arguments, the issue 2 will be continued by my co-counsel, Your Lordship.
Please proceed.
So, good morning, everyone. I am the co-counsel appearing on behalf of the respondent. I would like to continue with the issue 2.
Seeking
The counsel
Proceed.
By proposing a new scheme for taxation of cryptocurrency, the legislative intent is to sort the interest effect that the cryptocurrency is a distinct class. That is, it does not come under the legal source of money. So it is an illegal class. For this purpose, the new provision itself is a complete code of taxability for crypto assets. The proposal do not just provide tax liability for the transferor, they also seek and create an obligation for transferring. By Section 194 of Income Tax Act 1961, and the scheme for taxation, that is 1% deduction in transferring transaction of these cryptocurrencies. So the scheme of taxation of cryptocurrencies is expected to result in advance of tax collection of the government and also create a trial for verification by the Income Tax Department. This budget can be seen as an attack to the decentralized aspect of digital currencies. The cryptocurrencies and tokenized assets, etc., run on blockchain technologies, so which are decentralized by the basic design. And in this past, the government has discouraged people from trading in cryptocurrencies by rating the higher rate of taxation of 30%. The government would save the people from safer and regulated assets like mutual funds. In this addition, the government is also introducing its own digital currency, which would completely
Council.
monitor and regulate by the central government.
Council, what is
Yes, Your Lordship.
blockchain technology?
So blockchain technology is a technology which would connect one computer, that is one system, with other millions of systems, so that no transaction, the transaction will be levied for more than one computerized system. It is a private system. My council will seek permission to explain.
Proceed. Council, proceed.
Lordship, may I answer the question or move on with the issue to your Lordship?
Yes, you may answer.
Basically, if you see a person is in the blockchain system, if a person enters through the transaction of the cryptocurrency, their information is stored there. Whether they are, for example, in the central bank system, we create an account, we store a money, and they have transaction is detailed in one of the documentation. Same wise follows in the blockchain technology, whereas where the information of the transactions and the members have been stayed in a system called, which is called as a block. So we can, while transacting or selling of the cryptocurrencies, the computer itself verifies whether they have purchased any of the cryptocurrencies, and according to that, they receive the income or the amount the cryptocurrency have been bought, Your Lordship. That is the blockchain technology, which is secured and followed by individual authority.
The council will continue with the other quotations. So contrary to the other digital assets, this currency will be safer, less volatile asset, as it is backed by the central bank. And two people believe to move to the tax, this asset could sign the government changing motion about it. It would foolish to look like black and white. That is, government is well aware of the growing popularity of cryptocurrency. Hence, while increasing the cost of investing them, they also provide people with the flat alternative. If a demand from centralized asset is shift to the regulated digital currency, the government would be in control of digital trading as well. I would like to quote a case law, that is IAMI case law, where the RBI has jurisdiction over issues relating to virtual currencies. Virtual currencies act as a money under certain circumstances. No one has an unfetched fundamental right to do business on a network of entities regulated under RBI. And the implicit decision do not violate any fundamental rights like 14, 19, and 21 of the Constitution. And there is another case law known as Modern Dental College and Research Center versus State of Madhya Pradesh in 2016. It is crucial to note that the judgment only applies to business under Article 19 clause 1 clause C and do not hobby sites, that is dealers in VCs and VCs exchange, as described in the current case. The council would seek permission to move on to issue 3.
Please proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. The issue 3 is that whether there will be any negative impact by providing legal status to virtual currencies. So it is humbly submitted before the court that by providing legal status will create a negative impact on our constitution. So virtual currencies have emerged and attracted investment in payments infrastructures built on the software protocols. These payments mechanisms seeks to provide a new method by transmitting value over the internet. At the same time, the virtual currency payment products and services presents ML and TF risk, that is terrorist financing and money laundering risk. So the US Secret Service had observed that criminals are looking for and finding virtual currencies that offer autonomy for both users and transaction. The ability to elicit proceeds from one country to another country quickly and low volatility, which results in lower exchange risk and widespread adoption in the criminal underground and liability. The law enforcement agencies are also concerned about the use of virtual currencies by terrorist organizations. In this, in the support of the above conclusion, the report also included a case study, that is Ali Shurkan Amin. He who admitted to have a Twitter account of 4,000 followers. He claimed to have used his Twitter handle to provide instruction on how to use the crypto virtual currencies to mark the provisions of funds in ISIL. That is, it is a terrorist organization, Iraq State and Levian. In an article, the link to which the Twitter to his followers, it was elaborated how jihadis could utilize this virtual currency to fund their efforts. And the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure stated in two risks noted in the report, that is protection and operational risk. But insofar as distributed in ledger technology is concerned, the report was positive. However, report cautioned that a widespread submission of banknotes with digital currencies would lead to decline in central banks, that is non-interest payments, liabilities, demand for existing monetary agreements, and the conduct of monetary policy would be affected. And I would like to add some of the points. With regulation becomes difficult due to the cryptocurrencies market is always vulnerable in attacks. That the sudden breakdown of market cannot be ruled out. If that happens, all the electronic records in the distributed blockchain ledger will simply evaporate and recovery mechanism may not work. Unlike security markets that have range of entities between the markets, between the buyers and sellers, there are no intermediary in the cryptocurrency market. The cryptocurrency exchange functions as trading platforms for running, routing, and maintaining. Globally assessing taxability liability for cryptocurrency is difficult. Globally assessing tax liability for cryptocurrency is difficult. A sophisticated software for this is to be developed at the openness. Your Lordship.
You said that crypto markets are vulnerable. So, that's your first point.
Yes.
So even I think that stocks are also vulnerable. I mean, not to that level, I would say, of course, but like, can you just please clarify your first point?
If there is an attack on a cryptocurrency market, it will have a sudden breakout of more than millions and crores, which will affect the peoples in the society. So we cannot say that it would not happen. If there is a chance of having attacks on these cryptocurrency market. So by these mechanism, we cannot have any proper allegations or proper jurisdiction to take over the cases or a proper mechanism for their remedies. So that's why my first point is that a cryptocurrency market is always vulnerable to attacks.
Okay, please proceed.
Counsel, I have a question for you. Who is the custodian of the database involved in the blockchain technology? And, how would be the custodian accountable for the investor?
Sorry, I couldn't get you.
Who is the custodian for the database involved in the blockchain technology? My first question. And the second question is in continuation to the first question. If there is any custodian for the said database, how would the custodian be held accountable for the investor? Am I clear enough?
Now, Your Lordship. Now it's clear. Before it was breaking, Your Lordship. I couldn't get you.
Could you please repeat the question, Your Lordship?
So my question number one is, who is the custodian for the database involved in the blockchains or the cryptocurrencies? And my second question is in continuation to the first question. If there is any custodian, how can the custodian be held accountable for the investment made by the investors?
Your Lordship, the main problem in the cryptocurrencies comes to the liability, Your Lordship, because it is globally accessed, and also it is comes under the authority of an individual. So
that's what I'm asking. That who is the custodian and how that custodian would be held accountable for the investments made by the investors.
That's why only it is a very highly fluctuated and complexity of this cryptocurrency, your lordship. There is no person who can take any responsibility over these transactions. The seller will be have no intermediates to act as a person who can have a remedy over these cryptocurrencies, your lordship.
Okay,
Transfer
proceed.
regularization is very typical process.
Yes.
So since it is distributed, Bitcoins exist has many different locations at the same time. This makes it very difficult for a single regulatory power to enforce it all across these borders. So it also means that the government or the third party cannot technically write an office and shut anything down. So a report that is given by RBI on February 14, 2020, I would like to quote some of their purviews. That is, private currencies have resulted in instability and therefore have evolved into flat currencies over century. The retrograde step back to private currencies cannot be taken simply because technology allows it. Without any consideration for dislocation, it causes to legal, social, and economic fabric of the society. And the mining of non-official virtual currencies very resourceful, and there are some of the countries like the Bank for International Settlements cryptocurrency looking beyond the report states that a scale of national level payment system and a virtual currency would require crippling level of storage and processing power. Adding more users also makes cryptocurrencies more cumbersome to use. There is a incident which was taken place in Switzerland. There is a report that turning into a environmental disaster. According to the study, an estimate of 19 households in the United States can be powered for one day by the electricity consumed in a single Bitcoin transaction. 13 some of countries in this US A report by Reserve Bank of New Zealand finds that virtual currencies have increased and reward from the ransomware attacks because of the pseudonymity. A ransomware attacks it takes place when the access to the computer or network is blocked until the ransom is paid. And the same report also details how a significant number of Bitcoin accounts have been used for online gambling. So there is a country known as Headquarter which officially banned Bitcoin in 2014, introduced Sistema di Dinario Electronico. It is a digital currency that NNO government aimed at saving money on replacing detracting physical money instead of replacing cash altogether. And I would like to state some of the countries' purview. The CDC ultimately failed in training enough users. A study by Professor Lawrence H. White found that 71% of the accounts of the opened remained inactive, that is, they were not used for making transactions. So I would like to quote some of the other countries' purview, that is Bolivia. In 2014, Bolivia made cryptocurrency illegal, and the central bank issued a resolution that banned cryptos not to be trusted as an investment. And in China just put a blanket ban and sending the strongest signal yesterday of its determination to crack down these industries. And Egypt was classified cryptocurrency as a Bitcoin prohibited under Islamic law, laws to prevent trading or promoting cryptocurrencies without central bank license. And the last country is Venezuela, launched its own oil-based cryptocurrency to circumstate US transactions that had adversely impacted the economy. The council would conclude that due to the high fluctuation and high complexity, the cryptocurrency cannot be regularized, and it has high fluctuation. We cannot the council would conclude that it has high complexity and flexibility to regulate the cryptocurrency. So we would move on to the prayer. The council would seek permission to pray.
Permission granted. Prabjot.
Therefore, in the light of issues raised, arguments advanced, and authority cited, it is humbly prayed that the Honorable Court may be pleased to declare that the government shall be justified in taxing digital assets, cryptocurrency, and NFT as it is yet to be delegalized, and Section 115 BTH of Income Tax Act 1961 is not violative of Constitution of India. Cryptocurrency shall not be provided with legal status, and pass any other order, direction, or relief that it may deem fit in the interest of justice, fairness, equity, and good conscience for the act of kindness, and the appellant is in duty bound shall forever pray. Counsel behalf of the respondent.
As the respondents have concluded their arguments, now we would move on to the rebuttals. Defendants, your rebuttals would start now. Sorry, the petitioners. Sorry.
Petition.
Your Lordship, the council seeks permission to rebut.
Please proceed.
The council would like, much obliged, Your Lordship. The council would like to point out that in the first issue, my learned friends had pointed out that anything that is not prohibited is legalized. And then again in the third issue, they pointed out that this is not legalized and it should not be legalized because it has many harmful implications. And again in the prayer, they had implied that virtual digital assets are yet to be legalized. So they've been contradicting their own stand in their orals like 3 times. First, they stated these are legal because they are not prohibited. And yet in the prayer, they stated that these are yet to be legalized. And the second thing would be that and all the other countries would...
We have a technical issue, I think, so we are unable to hear our petitioner side.
Am I audible, Your Lordship?
You are audible to us, but not, I guess, not to the other speakers. But you are audible to us. Yeah, please proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, council seeks permission to increase this time by 1 minute for the rebuttal.
Proceed.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the council would like to point out that other countries who started imposing taxes on cryptocurrencies, countries like USA, which my learned friends had pointed out in their arguments, they had first defined the legal status of cryptocurrencies in their countries. For example, USA stated that they may be categorized as property and they may be treated as short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains. So USA had substantially defined their standing on the legality of cryptocurrencies, and only after that they had imposed taxes on the same. And countries like USA and UK have imposed taxes on cryptocurrencies which are applicable according to the tax slab in which the taxpayer is paying taxes. For example, people with higher income from BDS will be paying higher taxes and people with lower incomes will be paying lower. But this isn't the case.
We are very sorry. We have faced some technical issue. We couldn't hear you from start itself. Your voice is breaking, so we couldn't get you.
The council asks the lordships if we should start from the beginning. So, your lordships, as I was pointing out, the other countries at first defined their stand on cryptocurrencies or other virtual digital assets, and only after that they had started imposing taxes on the same. And this is not the case in our country. And the other thing being, when my learning friends at first, I'm sorry, your lordship. So as I was pointing out, your lordships, when my learned friends are pointing out that it is very difficult to regulate these crypto transactions, then how does it justify them to tax these crypto transactions if they feel that it is very difficult to regulate a system like this? In place of that, what they can do is when they legalize or when they impose regulations, all the apps which are also dealing with the brokerage of cryptos or virtual digital assets, they will come under the implication of the law, and they will have to frame certain regulations in their act, and in order to follow the regulations that have been framed by the country. So in that way, there'll be a track of all the transactions as well, and it will be easier for the government to regulate these cryptocurrencies. Only if the government starts trying to regulate these instead of ambiguously just imposing taxes on the same, there'll be a solution for this problem. That's all, your lordships.
Renita, do you have something to say?
No, I don't have. You may proceed if you have anything.
No. Yeah.
Respondents, can you hear me?
I think
Respondents, are you with us? They had
network,
some technical glitch, I see.
there is some network glitch on their side. I think they should log off and then log in again.
The joining again, sir. 1 second.
Yeah.
We are audible now. Sorry for the technical issues we have faced. Network is not proper. Sorry for the inconvenience.
No issues. Please proceed.
Thank you, Lordship. Could you please repeat the questions? We couldn't get you from the start itself. Petition side. The questions.
Lordships, council seeks permission to repeat the rebuttals.
Please proceed.
Much obliged, your lordship. So the council was pointing out that my learned friends had pointed out in their arguments that anything that is not prohibited is supposedly legalized. And then in their third issue, they had been pointing out that anything, they said that the virtual digital assets should not be legalized because they have a lot of negative impact on it. And again, in the prayer, they had stated that the virtual digital assets are justified to be taxed because they are yet to be legalized. So they have been changing their stand in their orals like twice or thrice. At first, they said it is legalized because it is not prohibited. And in the end, they again stated that it is yet to be legalized. And pointing out the thing about countries, other countries such as United States or the United Kingdom, they had first defined their stand on cryptocurrencies. For example, the United States had defined them to be properties, and they had classified them into short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains. And the taxes were imposed according to the tax slab in which the taxpayer would fall. So they had first defined their stand on the legality of cryptocurrencies. They had said that it is legal to transact in all these, and only then they had started imposing taxes on the same. But this was not the case of our country. Lordship's council seeks permission to complete his rebuttals.
Yeah.
Permission granted.
Much obliged, your lordship. And so, yeah, it is first required by a country to justify its stand on cryptocurrencies. Only then imposing taxes on them would be possible. This has been happening in all the other countries as well, such as United Kingdom, who first justified their stand that they classify cryptocurrencies to be such properties or short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains, and they impose taxes according to the tax slab. But in our country, it was ambiguously imposed tax, and everybody is supposed to pay 30% tax, which is not justified at all. And the other thing being, as your lordship had pointed out the question regarding the blockchain technology, the council would like to add that blockchain technology works on digital ledger system. So the thing here is that only the apps would be able to find out like who is buying the cryptocurrencies and who's been selling them. So if the government is putting in well-defined regulations, the apps which are dealing in such cryptocurrencies will be bound by the government's laws in order to change the way in which their act works, and there'll be reporting of every transaction that is happening, that is taking place with the cryptocurrencies, and in that way we will be able to know what amount of funds have been transferred to which account, and in that way we'll be able to prevent terrorist financing or illegal activities using virtual assets. So the whole solution here lies in the fact that once it is legalized, once there are regulations put in, once the citizens start understanding these, the problems associated with VDS will start going down and their positives will be looked upon. That's all, your lordships.
Council, yeah, one question for you. This blockchain concept is also new in the market, right? And it's somehow related to cryptocurrency as well. So is it like really possible if someone can have that access to these blockchains or this cryptocurrency chain that has been so far going around? I mean, that's that is because the illegal activities are also going on. Like, is the government authorized to do that? Is the government able to do that, or don't you think that's a violation of PVC protocols?
Indeed, your lordship, the council would like to point out that the recording of the transactions would not lead to violation of the privacy, just as when we are investing our funds, or when we are going to the banks to keep our funds, and when we've saved our funds there is a recording, there is a record of the transactions, and they've been recording that these amount of funds have been put forward by the account holders, and this is being kept with us. Similarly, if the government puts in regulations and it has the authority to do so, then the apps which are being brokers in these virtual digital transactions, they will be bound by this law to put in regulations to their acts in such a way that the government is able to see what amount of funds have been flowing. And when these illegal activities, there is always something off about illegal activities taking place in anywhere in the world. So the government will be able to see that such huge amount of funds, or small amount of identical funds have been flowing into different accounts. So a small analysis of these transactions will be, and the government will be able to point out that there is something off over here. So within its authority, it can impose regulations, it can legalize the use of virtual digital assets, and the apps will be bound, and there'll just be a recording of the transaction. There won't be, the identity wouldn't be leaked. It is just the IP address which leads to the person. And in that way, the government will be able to know, okay, there has been a transaction and it has been between these two people. And that is how it is called a distributed ledger technology, because the person who is indulging in such transaction will also be able to see that who is buying the cryptocurrencies that he's been selling. So in that way, the consumer will have his own freedom, the investors will have their own freedom, and the government will also be able to regulate what has been happening in this arena.
So I think all this leads to that cryptocurrency should be regulated. I think, because it is violating the transaction part and all that stuff related to it. So yeah, okay, proceed.
Respondents, do you have any other rebuttals?
Whether we can answer the put forward question by the petitioner, or we can move on to the rebuttal part.
You have 30 seconds.
You can answer the question.
I couldn't hear you.
You can answer the questions put forth by them.
Thank you, Rashu. The question put forth by our learned friend is that we have not yet given a standard whether it is legalized or not legal. We understand that it is not, the cryptocurrencies are not yet legalized. We have not given any of the legal status to it. We have only stated that if the cryptocurrencies have legal status and entered into our country, what are the negative impacts have been created in our country is only dealt under issue 3. And also issue 1, we have clearly stated that it is not yet legalized, even though it is not legalized and comes in the legal status. The IT department and the government have the authority to tax the cryptocurrencies. And the major objective of this taxing the cryptocurrency is that we have stated already in the issue that due to it is the newest entry to our country, that is the digital technology, and the cryptocurrencies have been vastly grown. We couldn't able to control it by banning it, because already many of the investors have already invested in the cryptocurrencies. By completely banning it, it will be providing injustice to them and the total loss for them. So to protecting that, also to step by step to control the cryptocurrencies, we have been induced this amount of tax systems to control and prohibit and secure our citizens from this vulnerable and volatile system of cryptocurrencies. And move on. If the petition is satisfied with the arguments and the lordships, we can move on to the reported part.
Your Lordship, the Council seeks permission for the side rebuttal.
Yeah, please proceed, Council.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. The Council would like to point out that the government has recognized the fact that there have been increasing number of transactions in these virtual digital assets, and still it doesn't want to legalize them, it just wants to tax them. So the scenario that builds up over here is that they just want a part of the income, and they are not concerned with status of such transactions happening in our country. So let it be used for illegal stuff or legal stuff. The government just wants a part of the income that has been earned by the people who are transacting in these. But they are not at all worried about what the legal implications might be if there is no regulation, if there is no status of legality which is provided to such virtual digital assets. So the prime factor here becomes that it has to be regulated, it has to be legalized first. Only then you can share a part of the incomes that has been earned by the investors, and only then the trust of the citizens of the country will be the government of the country, that they have actually done it for the welfare of the people of the country. That's all, Your Lordships.
Your Lordship, the Learned Council has stated that we are not yet legalized, and also they have stated that we only want the main concept of this taxing on the cryptocurrency is to prohibit and also decrease the investment in the cryptocurrency. We have provided with other alternative sources like mutual funds, and they can have only many other investments where there is legal authority and they have legal protection to it. The cryptocurrencies, as the learner has already stated, that there is no identification is given where from whom to where the transaction has been given, proceedings are taking place. So by this liability for any of these disputes arises, the liability to impose is very difficult, and from the single regulation we cannot bring a law which regulates where the payment and transaction is globalized. And also yes, that is and also they have also stated in their issue itself that the cryptocurrencies are vulnerable to terrorisms and also some of the money laundering activities, etc. So by bringing into that system into our country, it will only increase the terrorism and the money laundering activities, as we have stated in the issue itself, issue 3 itself, Your Lordship.
I think Pranita has something to say.
So What you are arguing is that we should prohibit it. Respondent? A respondent counsel with us. So you're saying we should prohibit it.
Yes, Your Lordship.
So don't you think that it would be violative of
We are
Article
saying that
19(1)(g)?
Your Lordship, we are only violating the cryptocurrencies that are controlled by individual authorities. As we stated, we are introducing a digital authority, and that is by the others, because they will have a safer source and also security will be provided. But in these cryptocurrencies and the NFTs, they are not. It is very difficult to regularize, and they are vulnerable to many attacks, and there are many negative impacts as stated in the
But
issue.
don't you think that
we are
it
only
would be
prohibiting the
violative of
cryptocurrencies which
Article
are handled by the
19(1)(g)?
individual sources.
Council? Don't
Yes,
you
Your
think that
Lordship.
it would be violative of Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution of India?
If we have banned the cryptocurrencies completely, it will be violative of the 19 clause 1 clause, Your Lordship. We are only imposing the tax. We are stating that we are providing alternatives too, that where they can invest in many other safer sources like mutual funds and many other stock shares where they.
Okay, council,
where
you
they
tell
have
me, is
safer
there any
security and
specific
stability.
law governing or,
But
or
we are,
defining the
in that way, we are
quantum?
not
Council,
we are not violating any of the fundamental right and the Article 190 clause 1.
Council,
okay, council,
you
you
need
tell
to.
me that is there any specific law that is defining as to the quantum of the percentage to be charged by the government? Is there any
Quantum
specific law defining the quantum of percentage?
specific
The
percentage of
quantum. Yeah, the percentage of taxes
Yes,
levied
but
by the government. Is there any law?
for levying 30% of tax or Lordship.
The council is seeking for answering the question. Permission for seeking answering the question. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please proceed.
As you all know that in stock market we have a limited amount of stock. That is, if we are investing in a stock market, we have only that is this amount of stock. This much of stock is available in the company, so that we can have a limitation of this stock. But in cryptocurrency, the individual authority can alter their stock. That is, alter their charges from 1 crore to 2 crore and 2 crore to 3 crore. So that is, it is not. It don't have any limitation of quantum of these percentage. So that's why only we are saying that individual authority cryptocurrency is very messier and it is very highly, which is highly complexity. So that's why we are pleading to the court that the cryptocurrency by individual authority should be banned, and the digital currency which is introduced by our government is just regulated, and the people can invest in this safer side.
Your Lordship, can the council rebut to that?
Yeah, council, go for it.
His Lordship, the learned friend pointed out that the am I audible, Your Lordships?
Your voice is cracking, council. It's breaking.
Is it okay now, Lordship?
Yeah, much clear.
Yes, is it? Subjot, are they audible enough to you?
Yes, they are audible.
Obliged, Your Lordship. The council would like to point out here that the learned friends they're literally dictating to the citizens of the country that instead of investing in cryptocurrencies, we are providing you with other alternatives such as mutual funds and all other shares and stocks of other companies. So the citizens have their own right to choice and they can choose where they want to invest their own money, and they'll only be investing their money in the sources from which they feel that they'll be able to earn maximum profits. So here it becomes the responsibility of the government to adhere to what the citizens of the country's interests are and legalize these cryptocurrencies. They can't just dictate the people of the country to switch from cryptocurrencies to mutual funds just because they've already regulated mutual funds and they don't want to bring in regulations of cryptocurrencies. And the other point I would like to state is that the council had stated that the non-regulation or the illegality of cryptocurrencies might be prone and but which make it vulnerable for being used in terrorist financing and all illegal activities. Once the regulations have been brought in, it will be easy for the people who have been defrauded by these to approach the court under a legal framework stating that this is a fraud and I have a legal backing to approach the court and I want the court to give justice to me. So that is what the council would like to state, Your Lordship.
If we are done with all the rebuttals, do we proceed to conclude the session?
The council's permission to answer the petitioner side.
Yeah, please proceed.
Thank you, Lordship. They have stated that we have provided with the alternatives and the citizens have the right to choose their own profession and income generated sources. We have already stated that cryptocurrencies, we have banned the cryptocurrencies because of their volatility and also they are very vulnerable because investing is very risk process from which is not yet legalized or there is no legal authority for it. Investing in that one makes it a very they have negative impact on the investors and also the transactions too. By providing the alternatives like which is authorized by the legal authorities and regularized like mutual funds I have stated, the liability will be very easy and also they have a safer and secure one. The government have to provide a public welfare, they can state that which is a good one as a bad one to invest and provide get income from that.
Your Lordships, the petitioners have made their stand very clear and there would be no rebuttals to that, Your Lordships.
Then we should go up to conclusion then.
Okay, thank you everyone. Before we conclude the session, on behalf of Advocate Manav Jisal Thomas sir, I request the judges to send the score sheets back via email and please give feedback to our speakers to help them improve in their performance in the upcoming rounds.
Priyanka, would you like to proceed first?
Prabjot, can we connect for that purpose?
Yeah, sure.
Someone from the team, can you please help us connect offline?
Actually, I just drop my number and email for everyone here for every advice or guidance that you may need after this session as well.
Okay, even I'll do that way.
I request both the judges to kindly share the score sheets via email.
Okay.
Okay.
You all have given your feedbacks to the participants.
I think Pranita will lead first.
Okay, you all can just share your feedback to the participants, and you all can share the score sheets across via email,
Yeah.
because we have our quarterfinals to start immediately. Thank you so much, and we're so pleased to have both of you on board, and hope to see you all soon in the next edition also, which will be next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manav.
Yeah,
It was
thank you for inviting us, and it was a privilege to judge this moot court competition. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Lordships. It was an honor pleading before this honorable court.
Thank you. Also, you guys participated well. I mean, the facts and all that stuff you prepared, they were very well curated. The research part was also good. But yeah, only advice like I would like to give you, apart from law, apart from the legal acumen, there is some sort of, law is also, I would say, on a logic basis. So before arriving or somewhere, just riding your boat to the legal part, try shifting it to the other things as well. Come across through those perspectives as well, and this is for both this is for both the petitioner and respondent. So although it was a great treat from Manav to us and to judge this competition. It was a great opportunity.
Yeah, so it's very well pointed by Prabjot. Am I audible? Manav, can you hear me?
Ma'am, Manav sir is not here, but you're audible.
Okay. Team, I hope I'm audible to the team.
Yeah, you're audible, Pranita.
Yeah, so I wanted to share a feedback with you guys that, whenever you are reading law or interpreting law, there are three things that go hand in hand. There are, three things, and you should keep those three things in mind. And one is, logic, language, and, law. The most important of it is law. So law, logic, and language, that would go hand in hand. So this is, you should make very sure, and you should be very, vigilant of reading between the lines. But yes, it was a good teamwork, good research skills, good presentation skills, good knowledge of law. And Prabjot has, pointed well that, that should be logical enough. So, this is my feedback, and I would be sharing it across the email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am and sir. We were honored to have you as judges today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Shweta. So
Now the judges and teams can